The power of judging less and understanding more. Timeless teachings from Jesus, Buddha, Rumi, Carl Rogers, and Marshall Rosenberg. Let's discuss why judging less matters now. We are unity of consciousness where we help you to achieve personal and spiritual growth. Today we will talk about the power of kindness in the Your Word. It is a world that moves fast, speaks fast, and judges even faster. Opinions form in seconds. Labels are placed instantly. People are reduced to headlines, moments, mistakes, or differences, and yet, beneath every judgment lies something quieter, a human being longing to be seen, understood, and met with compassion. Judgment creates distance. Understanding creates connection. This video is an invitation not to abandon discernment, but to soften the reflex of judgment and replace it with curiosity, empathy, and wisdom. Across cultures, religions, psychology, and spiritual traditions, the same truth appears again and again. When we judge less, we suffer less. When we understand more, we heal more. Now let us explore timeless teachings from Jesus, the Buddha, Rumi, Carl Rogers, and Marshall Rosenberg. Voices that remind us that understanding others is not just kindness. It is a path to inner freedom. Jesus taught us, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." Jesus taught one of the most radical ideas in spiritual history. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. Matthew 7:1-2. This was not a call to moral blindness. It was a call to humility. Jesus understood something deeply psychological and spiritual. Judgment rebounds inward. When we judge harshly, we harden the heart. When we condemn others, we imprison ourselves. What about now? What to do now? In today's world, judgment often masquerades as righteousness, certainty, or superiority. Social media rewards outrage. Culture rewards quick conclusions. But Jesus invites us to pause and look inward first. He reminds us that judgment is often projection, our unhealed wounds speaking through criticism. To judge less today means listening before reacting, remembering we never see the full story, choosing compassion over comparison. When Jesus said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone," he was not excusing harm. He was restoring human dignity. Judging less is not weakness. It is spiritual maturity. The Buddha taught us, understanding as the end of suffering. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from ignorance, from misunderstanding reality and clinging to false perceptions. One of his most quoted insights says, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Judgment in Buddhism is a form of ignorance, a story we tell ourselves that solidifies into suffering. What about the world's judgment nowadays? In a world where polarizing happens continuously, judgment feels like protection. But the Buddha teaches that judgment binds us to pain. Understanding dissolves suffering because it dissolves illusion. When we understand, we see causes, not just behaviors. We recognize fear beneath anger. We meet humanity instead of enemies. Judging less today means practicing right understanding, asking what pain might be here, recognizing impermanence. People change, letting go of rigid narratives. The Buddha didn't teach us to agree with everyone. He taught us to free ourselves from hatred. Understanding is liberation. Rumi, also one of the greatest teachers, has taught us to be beyond right and wrong. Rumi, the great Sufi poet, wrote words that still echo across centuries. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Rumi understood that judgment fractures reality. Love unifies it. Modern alignment. Our modern world is obsessed with being right. But Rumi invites us into something deeper than correctness. Connection. Judging less does not mean abandoning values. It means refusing to reduce people to categories. Rumi reminds us, humans are not problems to be solved. Love begins where labels end. Understanding arises in shared humanity. To live this today means listening without preparing a rebuttal, allowing mystery in others, choosing presence over superiority. The field Rumi speaks of is awareness, where understanding replaces judgment and love replaces division. Carl Rogers took a similar approach. Empathy as transformation. Carl Rogers, one of the founders of humanistic psychology, said, "When someone really hears you without passing judgment, without trying to take responsibility for you, without trying to mold you, it feels damn good." Rogers discovered something revolutionary. People heal when they are understood, not corrected. Are we ready for Rogers' lessons? Modern life often confuses fixing with helping, but judgment blocks growth. Rogers taught that empathy creates psychological safety, the space where real change occurs. Judging less today means listening without interruption, suspending advice, trusting people's inner wisdom. When people feel understood, defensiveness drops, openness emerges. Healing begins. Understanding is not agreement, it is respect. And respect changes people far more than judgment ever could. Marshall Rosenberg, through his great thought process, has taught us from judgment to needs. Marshall Rosenberg, creator of nonviolent communication, taught, "Every judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need." This insight bridges spirituality and psychology. Judgment, Rosenberg taught, is not evil. It is misdirected pain. Today we have to use more love in all sides. In everyday life, judgment often sounds like, "They're selfish, they're lazy, they don't care." Rosenberg invites us to translate judgment into understanding. What need is unmet here? Safety, respect, belonging? When we shift from judgment to curiosity, empathy, and love, conflict de-escalates, compassion increases, solutions emerge. Judging less today means naming feelings instead of accusations, seeking connection instead of control, choosing understanding over winning. This is not just communication, it is emotional intelligence in action. Let us phase out judging, a practice for our time, for our people. Judging less is not a one-time decision, it is a daily practice. Each moment gives us a choice: react or reflect, condemn or understand, harden or soften. Jesus reminds us that judgment rebounds inward. The Buddha teaches that judgment fuels suffering. Rumi invites us beyond right and wrong. Carl Rogers shows us the healing power of empathy. Marshall Rosenberg gives us tools to transform judgment into understanding. Together, they offer a roadmap, not toward moral perfection, but toward human wholeness. Understanding does not mean excusing harm. It means responding with wisdom rather than reflex. It means remembering that every person carries a history we cannot see. Wounds we do not know need seeking expression. When we judge less, our relationships deepen, our inner peace grows, our world becomes more humane. This practice begins within. The next time judgment arises, pause and ask, what am I really feeling? What might they be feeling? What need is alive here? In that pause, something sacred happens. Understanding enters. And as understanding grows, so does compassion, so does peace, so does love. We are unity of consciousness where we help you to achieve personal and spiritual growth. May we become people who see more clearly, listen more deeply, and judge less. Not because we must, but because we are finally free enough to do so.